Sunday, September 7th, and I'm standing at the intersection of Highway 560 and Beauty Lake Road, located in the northwestern quadrant of the TEMAGAMI cluster. And today I'm meeting up with a couple of guys that I've never met before. Curtis from the Not So Epic Adventurer and his buddy Dustin. And for the next 6 days, we're going to be exploring this part of the park. And the plan is to head down the North Lady Evelyn River before heading south across a couple of portages into Duff Lake and eventually Florence Lake. But on the return trip from Florence Lake, we're actually going to head east along the South Lady Evelyn River, which is a winding, twisting, intimate creek paddle, which eventually empties out into the North Lady Evelyn, which we'll be paddling up in order to get back to our vehicles. So I'm just waiting for these guys to arrive, and once they do, I'm going to follow them down Beauty Lake Road to our put-in at Chance Lake. We've made it to the put-in at Chance Lake, and we're about to launch down here at the water. We are launched on Chance Lake, and what a nice feeling it is to finally be launched, especially after such a long drive from the city, plus the 45-minute drive down that tapering logging road. Not even sure if there was parking at the end, but sure enough there was. We got it, and now we're paddling down the North Lady Evelyn River. And we're looking for a campsite on this stretch because we've decided we're going to stay on it for tonight before making our way into Florence tomorrow across a couple of portages. We've had intermittent pouring rain, but now it's dry, dark clouds in the sky, so we're going to try to make some time, get to camp before any more rain shows itself. We have just run our first Swift after having put in at Chance Lake. And it wasn't difficult, but it was somewhat bony. Curtis went first and left some paint. I went second, also left some paint. And then Dustin smartly lined his canoe and probably left less paint. Anyway, we're heading downstream now into the twisting, winding North Lady Evelyn River. This is a really spectacular stretch of river. It twists and turns and winds, but never gets very tight. However, it is very shallow, and on many occasions, my paddles scrape bottom, like now, and on a couple of occasions, I actually got the canoe hung up on like a bit of a sand bed. Anyway, the sun's back out so I can see a little bit of depth and hopefully keep that from happening a second time. The guys are just ahead downriver a little bit, and I'm catching up to them. There's a boat staged here. A couple. Oh yeah, this could be a good site. It's something. Oh yeah, it's a site. It's marked. We've just come upon what we believe to be our campsite, and there's quite a generous takeout, a dead tree, and a campsite marker. So we're going to pull up on shore, take a look, and see if this campsite will fit the bill for tonight. It's around 6:30 now, and we've been at the campsite for probably an hour or so. We've got our tent set up. We got a tarp set up in case it starts to rain again. And there's been some talk about getting started on dinner because guys are hungry. And also, there's sort of a consensus that we all want to get to bed early tonight so we can get an early start tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a longer day. We're making our way into Florence Lake, across a couple of portages. I believe there's a 1,000 meter and a 400 meter and some moving water along the way as well. So not quite sure what tomorrow's going to hold, but I think it's going to be a decent working day, and an early start would be a smart move. So I'm going to head back down the path to the campsite and start getting started on my dinner, and then we'll have to see what the rest of the evening holds. Tonight's dinner is going to be shepherd's potato stew with beef, and I'm about 8 minutes into my rehydrating, so I've got another 7, and then we'll dive in and see what this tastes like. I've never had it before. In fact, it's only my 3rd freeze-dried meal ever, and I've got a different one every night for this trip, so we'll see how they stack up against one another. Not bad at all. That's great.
I have like a level of scream you don't know. Like when I'm scared of a.
Is it high pitched and really ladylike?
No, it's just scared.
A minute.
Oh yeah. It's amazing the body temperature will drop.
Usually I find when that happens, it's because I haven't eaten. But having just had dinner, and you're still getting a chill, you know you gotta move. You heard that big bang?
I was waiting for yeah. That wasn't you guys, obviously. That was a gunshot or something. It sounded like.
I don't know what it was. It came from over there.
Where's Dustin?
Right there.
Right here, yeah.
What was that bang?
Oh, that was me. I trying to hang my food, and I hit that one of those boats there. That's.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, the clip. The clip
Yeah.
went on, and it got hung up, and I'm pulling, and it flew off, and it landed on the.
Oh my goodness.
Man, I thought it was a gunshot. I was like, is there like a traditional hunt going on?
I don't know what it was either.
Sorry about that.
Then I was like, maybe they dropped.
But now it's. I got it hung up in there. Where's that?
Maybe they just like whoever's crazy enough that want to do it. They're like, sure, go, please. No one else will.
That's right. It'll be one heck of a job, though.
Yeah,
one great experience for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be a wrap for day 1. It's about 9:30 now, and wow, it really got dark quick. And also, we had some rain showers right around dinner time, and then temperature dropped. So we did have a warming fire after dinner, which was really nice, just to take the edge off before bed. And now the guys have turned in, and well, I'm not far behind them. But I just wanted to thank you for coming along on day 1. We hope to see you on day 2. Good morning on day 2, around 6:30 now. Very crisp morning here. Mist off the water, dew on the tents, and about 6 degrees last night. It was chilly. I didn't put on the base layer because I thought I wouldn't need it, but that's not a mistake I'm going to make tonight because I think the rest of the trip actually has cooler nights as we go on. Today's plan is to head downriver, further downriver to a 1,000 meter portage that takes us, well, closer to Florence Lake, which is our destination for today. So once we get a couple more coffees in us and finish up our breakfast, we'll pack up camp, hop in the canoes and start making our way down this winding river towards portage number 1. We're trying to find a way to get out on this portage without sticking up to our knees in mud. Looks like the water levels are quite low, and it's left some pretty spongy ground. Oh, I don't know, 15, 20 feet out from where the portage actually begins. So not sure if we're going to find a couple of solid footholds or if it's going to be, oh, that looks deep, Curtis. Oh, or whether I'm just going to walk in Curtis' footsteps up to his knee.
Rocks on the bottom. Not that bad.
Oh, full service. Thank you, sir. Oh, that's great. Thank you. Hello, Dees Lake. Well, that first carry wasn't too bad. I'm heading back to the second carry now, which is going to be the heavier one, with my main pack and the camera case. But I had the canoe on my shoulders when I came up that hill and just thought I'd keep going. So
It's not bad. It's beautiful, eh?
it is beautiful. It's a great trail.
Yeah. At the end, it kind of goes up over a rock and back down, but it's a sidewalk.
Right on my,
Oh, really?
oh yeah, any minute now. We're into Dees Lake now, and it's a shallow, swampy lake, populated by a bunch of islands and, I don't know, kind of a wetland in between the lake and the shore. And we're heading across it to a 400-meter portage. It'll take us into Florence Lake, I believe. There might be a lake before then, but I think it's Florence. And it looks like rain. It's not supposed to rain, but I mean, it looks like rain. From all four corners, it looks like rain. We'll see what happens.
I think we're just straight away all the way down there.
We're just making our way across the last bit of Dees Lake, and it's turned from Dees Swamp, I would say, into sort of Dees Lake. The water's deeper. I don't know how deep, but my paddle's not hitting bottom anymore. And the 400-meter portage is dead ahead. And once we're done that, I think that's the end of the portaging for the whole trip. That is if we're able to make it back to our put-in via the South Lady Evelyn River. And that remains to be seen, but we're hopeful. Anyway, still overcast and chilly. I'm contemplating putting on another layer, but soon I'll be in the woods and out of the wind, and maybe it won't matter. This looks like the portage. Yep, there's the sign. Portage from Dees into Florence. 400 meter. Looks like an uphill to start.
About 400 meters up and over a nice hill. Excited to hit the river.
And straight up for the first few, I don't know, dozen or so meters. We'll see what happens. Hey, Curtis. It is a good one. Some downhill now. Now on the other side of the Dees portage, and this body of water will take us into Florence Lake.
No, there was just a grouse at the end, right where my camera was.
Oh, okay.
I was just hanging out there. But I went down, I saw it, and then I came back, and he was still there.
I'm gonna take a minute now, or more than a minute there, if you guys don't mind. If and when I get myself another canoe, I'll get a proper pad.
The older I get, the more noises I make. Holy.
We're launched now on the other side of the Dees portage, and more river paddle. Just a beautiful wetland under incredibly moody skies. I mean, I think I felt one raindrop on the last Dees Lake before we came across to the portage, like one drop, and nothing since. But I mean, the sky could open and it wouldn't surprise me. So far it's been holding off, which is a-okay, because we've got to line up some rapids and or portage around them coming up in the next kilometer or so. And then after that's done, I think we're just going to paddle right onto Florence Lake. I don't think there's any more obstructions or lakes in between, but I'll have to double check on the map. Looks like we're going to be lining up these rapids. All right. Another swift up here. Quite shallow and lots of current. We'll see how far I can pull my way up here. How scenic was that? Walking up those rapids and then paddling through the upstream portion through all those little mini cliffs and tight turns and mysterious corners. Does not get much better than that unless it was longer and an all-day paddle instead of just, I don't know, one and a half hour paddle. But now I think we are on to Florence Lake, and if we're not on it, we're close. There's a whole bunch of little lakes, twists and turns that happened prior to Florence Lake, and since I'm not the navigator on this trip, I've been somewhat blissfully ignorant of where we're going, although I do have a map in my bag, so I'll pull that out later and we'll take a look at it and see what the hell I'm talking about. Right now it's more about just taking everything in and charting where I need to go, to be honest. Oh my goodness, look at that tree. Yeah, that little tree doesn't have a lot of plumage on it, but it looks like it's still thriving at the top. But maybe not for much longer. We're battling a bit of a headwind now, probably the strongest we've had since we've been on the trip. And it's funneling down through this river section and hitting us head on, which is preferable to having it hit you any other way. So not a problem anyway. It's a problem for taking pictures and shooting video because you get spun around pretty quickly. But besides that, it's been no trouble. And looks like Curtis is taking a pit stop at a fallen tree ahead. So I think we're gonna regroup up there and see what our next steps are. These trees through this stretch have so much personality. You've got the white pines towering over everybody, and you've got, I guess, the spruces or the jacks with all their pom-pom tops, and then some tops just completely bent out of shape. Some dual prong tops. Now we're paddling through a lily pad field, at the end of which is a very impressive looking rock face. And sometimes when paddling through beautiful landscapes, you need to remember to turn and look around, because that's what I just did, and what a sight. It's about 4:30 now, and we're still making our way along the South Lady Evelyn, en route to Florence. And Florence Lake is not in sight. Can't be too much further because we've been at this a while. But it'd be okay if it showed up in the next hour or so. I'd like to make it to camp by around 5:30, so we've got time to set up and whatnot before it starts to get dim. I think this is the entrance to Florence Lake, and it looks like there's an erratic here to greet us. Florence now, and we passed up a couple of sites because they just weren't big enough. We're very exposed to the wind, as is the case of the last one behind me. And we're battling a headwind now, trying to get across this lake. And there are a pair of campsites at the end, and we're hoping one of those two will work in our favor. It's getting quite late, 5:45, so it'd be nice to get settled in soon. I've got a bit of a chill. I think Curtis said he had one too, so when you stop paddling, that's when the problems start. For the first time all day, the sun has broken through the cloud. My goodness, what a splash of warmth that is. We all needed it. And it's the very first bit of it we've seen all day, and it's fleeting and gone. But it was enough. It was the shot in the arm we needed to make the next 500 meters to our campsite. There are two ahead. One of them will fit the bill, even if it doesn't, because we're out of options. Looks like our campsite's just beyond this point with this big white pine towering over it. The guys are just ahead, and it looks like they're moving in towards land. So, let's hope it's a good site. We're going to be here for a few nights, probably. Looks like the guys are settling into the site, and from where I am, about 200 meters out, it looks like a great site. I can't tell whether it's a beach landing or whether it's a rocky landing, but it comes right down to the water, and we're on a point, and I can see paths back into the woods. I'm really hoping this is going to be a great looking site. One thing's for sure, the view from it is amazing. It's around 9 o'clock now, and we've been at the campsite for, 2.5, 3 hours. And when we first got here, the first thing that we did was eat. All of us were starving. I don't think any of us ate or drank enough along the way today. And the campsite that we were looking for seemed to just always be out of reach. And the one that we ended up waiting for, this one, is spectacular. It's got a sandy beach on both sides, some decent tent pads, and just terrific access from the water. So if we can keep the sand out of the tents, it'll be, as far as I'm concerned, a 9 out of 10 on the campsite scale. But anyway, guys are tired. We just had a warming fire and a garbage fire to take care of some leftover dinner. I think we're going to hit the hay and get an early start tomorrow. Not sure what's on tap for tomorrow, but there's been talk about fishing, exploring caves, and paddling down lake. So we'll see what the wind and the weather looks like, and make decisions on the fly. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me on day 2. We hope to see you on day 3. Good morning on day 2. After our long paddle yesterday and our early bedtime last night, all the guys woke up today very well rested and ready to go. However, Mother Nature had other plans, and we also woke up to 45-kilometer-an-hour winds blasting us from the south end of our campsite. Now, our campsite faces east-west, and to the north of us, things look quite calm because we've got this point that we're on protecting us from the wind. But the minute you're around the corner behind me, you see white caps, and yeah, we aren't going anywhere today. But we did check the weather, and we saw that tomorrow is much more favorable for paddling, and we've got some destinations planned at the south end of this lake tomorrow. But for today, we're windbound, and that's okay because we're on a fantastic site, surrounded by beach on all sides, and tent pads tucked in the woods up and away from the sand. And the only spot where a tarp would work is a spot that we've got the tarp, and it's actually quite ideal. So nothing to complain about being windbound today. And in fact, we're planning it being at the site for the next 3 nights. Well, 2 nights, because we're already here for 1 night. So we're happy to be here, happy to be dug in, and this will be a great jump-off location for our expedition trips tomorrow. But for today, it's just going to be a whole lot of hunkering down and taking in the sights and shooting some film and doing all the good stuff. Getting late in the day, and coming up at around 6 p.m. now. Guys got back from their hike a couple hours ago. They followed the shoreline, the south end of our campsite. They went pretty far down the lake, checked out some bluffs. Curtis tells me he photographed some incredible white pines down there. But they returned a couple of hours ago, and Dustin, feeling restless, decided he was going to go out and try to catch a fish. So he's launched his boat and headed up lake, and he's disappeared in the windy part of the Narrows there. And, oh, he might just be poking his head out around the side, actually. That's great, because we were wondering where he was, and we were starting to get a little bit... What's that? Oh, no, seriously? Curtis lost his hat in the hurricane around the point there while doing some filming. But I see Dustin making his way through the cut, which is great, because we're hoping we're going to have a fish fry for dessert. And I say that because I've already started on dinner, and Curtis as well. Not even 6 o'clock yet, and for a bunch of guys that didn't do a lot all day, we sure got the appetites checking in early. Anyway, hopefully Dustin will make it back in one piece, and hopefully he's got some fish to share, so we'll have to see what happens.
I'm not in a hurry either, because I know if the longer I wait, the better chances I have of fishing there, so I'm just kind of like puttering around with moving at my own pace.
He showed up to work once after like May long, and he just like had homemade bandages like around all of his fingers.
For the past couple hours, I've just been chilling out at the campfire with the guys, telling stories and getting to know them better. But we're also planning what tomorrow would look like, and as a group we decided we want to get an early start head south on Florence along the east shore. Dustin saw on the map there's some caves over there, so we're going to try to explore those and see if we can find them. South of there's some tributaries that feed into the main body of the lake that should give some fishing opportunity for those two guys. And then as we head up the west shore, I think there's a cabin or a ruin or something along the way, so we'll poke around and see if we can't find evidence of that. Anyway, it sounds like the south side of this lake really does have a lot to offer, and I can't wait to explore it tomorrow. So thanks so much for joining me on day 3, and hope to see you on day 4. Good morning on day 4. I was the first up of the 3 of us today, getting out of the tent at about 5 a.m. and starting on coffee number 1. And it was a dead silent morning, not a sound when I woke up. And then slowly, the sandpipers at first, followed by what sounded like just small fish, fall fish maybe, chub, jumping just out beyond our beach. And then out in the point, larger sounds, definitely not small fish. And that started at around 6 a.m. And they were jumping like crazy. And I think Dustin heard it because he got up and ran out to the end of the point with his fishing rod. And he hooked into just the most beautiful brook trout, which we are about to have for breakfast. So what a way to start the day. Curtis came out a little bit later, but the bite was off. Those windows sometimes don't last very long. Anyway, at least we know they're in the lake, which means there'll be lots of fishing today and hopefully lots of catching as well. Anyway, in other news, there is not a breath of wind today. Well, maybe a breath. And it's still early, but the forecast doesn't have any escalation in wind. So hopefully this is going to be the day because it's ideal for paddling. Anyway, I'm going to head back to camp now and see what I can do to help out with getting that fish ready for our fish fry breakfast.
Here we go. Ooh.
Hey, Dustin, isn't that your wife's pan?
Yeah. Right beside me.
Oh, right beside me, Curtis.
But right here, this is a good spot. Yeah, right there. You gotta take the first piece.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Around 8:30 in the morning now, and we've just finished a breakfast feast of brook trout. And just as we were getting ready to head down lake, the rain started, and it's more than a drizzle and less than a downpour, but substantial enough to keep us under the tarp. So I think we're just going to hang out for a little bit, wait for the rain to ease up, and then eventually make our way down south on Florence. We left our campsite about 20 minutes ago in a downpour, really. And as we've made our way further south on Florence, the rain has got lighter and lighter. And now we just sort of have a drizzle going on and there's some brightness in the sky, so hopefully that's the end of the rain. Anyway, guys are just ahead of me, so I'm going to paddle, catch up to them. The caves should be coming up soon, so hopefully they found them and we can disembark and start exploring there. The rain is back upon us. That's all right. It's not cold or anything. Hands aren't cold. That's often the problem when it rains, especially in fall. The hands get it. Hands get cold. It spreads to the whole body. But I'm very comfortable right now, even though my feet are, soaked as usual. The rest of my body's dry and warm, so I can paddle on this all day.
I'm just gonna make some noise, okay?
Yeah.
Because it might be a bear cave.
Yeah. Or porcupines or cougar.
Dark spot.
Oh no, I see it. Yeah, I know. It's at a huge crack. It looks like a cave.
And to me, somebody put a beaver cut log there that I tied my boat off onto.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like putting a bunch of signs together.
Are you sure it's not though, or?
No, because it doesn't go in very far, but I'm going to go closer. I think I smell skunk a little bit, so
Yeah.
we don't want that.
Any luck on the caves?
I don't think that's the cave, but I had to check.
Okay. So maybe further down. All right. Very scenic paddle through these waterways. An intimate paddle. On the map, it had more feeling that the lake would have a much more wide open feeling, but it's actually quite a cozy lake. And I'm loving this paddle through it. The rain's mostly stopped now, and the guys and I have just been winding our way almost at half speed through these incredible rocky outcrops and twisting waterways, and we're in no hurry to get anywhere. And then one guy will see something and he'll sort of wander off towards the shore, and someone else will stop and shoot some video, and then someone else will wander ahead and we'll reconnect whenever. It's been just a silent, beautiful morning. Birds are just starting to come out now after the rain. And very still. So still that when you talk to someone you whisper because you don't want to disturb the silence. It's that kind of still. Rain on the water. Beautiful day for a paddle.
I know if I went home with no footage, it'd be like racetracks.
We're about 2/3 down the east part of the lake, and we decide to stop at this little beach for a little bite to eat, get some water. And Dustin tried fishing around the corner here at the first feeder stream that we've seen on the lake so far, but wasn't very deep and the water wasn't moving very quickly and the fish weren't biting. So we got out the map, took a look at it, and decided that we're going to head further down lake, check out a larger feeder stream at the southeast portion of the lake, and see if we have any luck down there. So we're packing up now, getting ready to hop back in the boat, nourished and hydrated, and keep heading south on Florence. The paddle south on Florence has just been glass. It's been spitting on and off. I mean, not enough to really bother to put on your raincoat, but enough to make you kind of swap out camera gear a little bit. But it appears we're in a sort of a lull of the endless daily spit. And looking at all the incredible clouds that are above these hilltops, some with sunlight shining through, others with dark clouds. And what an incredibly quiet lake. I mean, outside of the two guys over there whispering away, there's not a sound on this lake. I mean, every time I shoot a video, it's dead quiet. Anyway, we're going to keep heading south towards this tributary. Looks like it's just ahead on the left side, so we'll pull in there and take a look. How is the fishing in the stream?
It was shallow water, not quite what I was expecting, but I'm glad I checked it out. It's downhill.
Cool.
But, I was looking for some inflow, and that creek was more of an outflow, so created a shallow area, not ideal for the trout fishing.
Well, that's too bad. Well, I guess we'll head over to the west shore and check out any other feeder streams that might be there. We're just making our way from the east shore over to the west shore. And it's unfortunate that we got skunked at the two potential fishing spots that were identified on the map on the east side. But we're hopeful there might be some more opportunities on the west side. And even if there's not, I think we've got a hiking trail and a couple other points of interest listed on the map that hopefully will also be locatable by us. So that's the plan, and we continue our paddle under moody and, rippled skies. For the past little while, the guys have split up and poked around on their own at the south end of Florence. Curtis is just down the way doing some filming, and Dustin has made his way onto this rocky island in the middle of the south end, and I can see he's fishing. So I'm going to head over and see if he's had any luck. Any luck?
No, not yet.
Curtis and I just hooked up canoes mid-lake and took a look at the map. We've got a rough idea where the start of this hiking trail is on the far shore, and we're making our way across there now, and hopefully we'll be able to find it and see what that's all about. Our feeling is the lookout trail is going to be fairly proximal to that peaky ridge ahead. The guys have made it across the lake and they're poking around the west shore. Curtis is over doing some fishing, and gosh, I'm not sure where Dustin is. Oh, there he is. He's over at the side doing some fishing as well. And I stopped in the middle of the lake for some water and could not believe how silent it is here. There's no one else on the lake, no bird song, there's no wind. I can hear the drips off my paddle. And I don't remember the last time I just parked it in the middle of a lake and just sat perfectly still and just listened to all the silence. It is something else. In between my canoe and the west shore is this tiny little island with tiny little trees, but all kinds of color. And for some reason, it's really popping against the background, more so than any other cluster of trees or rocks. Maybe it gets more sun and just grows more brightly. Of things, they may have found the trailhead. Curtis made one attempt on a point that looked promising. It yielded nothing, no trail. But then Dustin, approaching the west shore, but from the north side, I think he's found something. They're out of their boats, and I think I heard one of them say flagging tape. So hopefully this is the trailhead, and we can start our climb. Oh my goodness. All right, well, this is a hill. My goodness. Yeah, thank God it's not a portage. After climbing a substantial part of the way up, I realized in my haste I did not tie my canoe. So I just went all the way back down again and tied my canoe. And now I'm where I was when I realized I didn't tie my canoe. And I can hear the guys ahead, so I better get rolling. Yeah, always tie your canoe. We've made it to the lookout and some great views from here all the way across the south end of Florence. The water we paddled across, all the bays and islands we paddled through and around, they're all visible from here, and it's a nice sight. The hike up was straight up. I mean, it was a Stairmaster every step. Didn't really need your hands except to help your legs. Anyway, the other two guys have plowed ahead a little bit to see if there's a higher point of ground that we can reach or if the trail continues, but from what I'm hearing, it sounds like they have not found any more trailhead signs, and they might be on their way back. Once they get here, we're going to turn around and start making our way back up the west side of Florence Lake towards our campsite and towards, I think, an old tent camp or cabin ruin or something like that. we're back down at lake level now, and that was a really enjoyable hike. Extremely steep on the way up, and a little treacherous on the way down, mostly because lots of loose mosses and dead stuff that just was very slippery underfoot because we've had this rain on and off for about 24 hours now. Anyway, the next step in our travel plan is to head north about 2 kilometers to Tabletop Island. And on my map, there's no indication of that island or any of the features on that island. But on the map the guys have, I believe there's some kind of point of interest around that island that we're going to go look at now. So that's the plan. They're already on their way, so I'm going to paddle and catch up. I've got a soft spot for lakes with little islands, and the south part of Florence here reminded me a lot of OSA, which also has these little islands at one end, just sort of making for a labyrinth of discovery as you paddle through them all. And we had that experience today, and then we got to climb to the top of the rock and see all these little islands from the perspective of up high, which was also very cool. Is that going to be a hardwood or a softwood fish?
Stick rope. So you're gonna run over my line.
And now we're heading north to Tabletop. Curtis in the lead, Dustin in the middle, and yours truly bringing up the rear. This might be Tabletop Island ahead. I'm not sure what the feature on it is supposed to be, but it does have a long sloping point that comes out to the water with what looks like a lot of rocks on it. So I don't know, maybe the rocks look like they were placed here. Let's see what happens when we get closer. Tabletop Island is not large. In fact, it's almost 2 islands, just barely connected in the midsection by a little rock wall. Anyway, I've almost finished paddling around one side of it, and I'll be looping around the other, but it's a dense little island with lots of rocky outcroppings. Very dense bush. I decided to round Tabletop Island, and I'm not sure why they call it Tabletop, but if you look hard enough, I guess it does have tabletop-esque features. Anyway, met up with the guys on the other side of the island, and we're heading north, back to our campsite, after we stop by an old cabin or an old tent site or something or other. It's on Curtis's map, so I'll take cues from him on this one. We're approaching the top end of what I'll call South Florence Lake, so we're well beyond the midpoint as we head north. However, there's no thoroughfare up the west side of the lake. The east side of the lake is a very wide channel to bring you down, but as you head up the west side, there is a tiny little, must be a sandbar or something, that we'll need to portage over. On the map it says low, meaning it's probably paddleable in high water. It doesn't look like we have high water, so we'll see if it's something we can walk through or have to portage over. But it definitely appears to be a dead end from where I am. We'll know more as we get closer. Looks like we found the way through to the other side of this little peninsula, I'd say. And I believe I see an old cabin in the background. Oh, I got beached on a sandbar before I made it to shore. Curtis took a better line, so I'm going to get out and walk my canoe up to shore now. But I can see the cabin from where I'm sitting, and it looks pretty interesting, so let's go up and check it out.
gonna do a
Small loads.
I think I'm just gonna do a canoe only shot.
This is one of the cooler cabins that I've come across. It's intact at the front, but I mean, the roof's caved in. But inside, you got an old stove, gosh, a pail, an old bed, and just a bunch of junk. But always interesting to stare inside these cabins and imagine what once was and who lived there and what life must have been like for them. Above the cabin, I think I see a sign that says "Good Tent." And in its day, I expect it was exactly that. Anyway, we have to portage right in front of this cabin from one side of the lake to the other. It's not long, and there's a sandy beach at both sides, so I'm going to get started on that now. Just launched into Florence Lake from Florence Lake, and now making my way back to the campsite about a kilometer up lake. And it's almost 5 o'clock. I mean, we were out in the water since about, I don't know, 9:30 this morning after the big rain stopped. What a day it was, just exploring and paddling, and the guys fishing and hiking, chit-chatting and not chit-chatting. It's just been a day of exploration and poking around, and on a lake that is just so beautiful with all those little islands at the bottom of it, calm waters. Oh, couldn't have asked for a better day, even with the rain. Just about back at the campsite. Have our sandy little point ahead, and the tents are tucked in just around the corner. Home sweet home. After coming back, all I could think about was having a coffee. So that's step one. 6 p.m. now, and after the coffee's done, I think I'm going to chill out for a while, wait until hunger strikes me, and then go ahead and make my dinner. It's a good feeling to be back at camp. Get all your wet clothes off, get them on the line to dry, get a fresh hot coffee in your hand to take the chill off from the rain today. But what an amazing day it was. I mean, starting off with the incredible loons that were just off the point in our campsite, which seemed very interested in us and almost tame at points. And then as we got further down the lake, we saw that, oh gosh, flock of loons, probably 40, 50, 60 of them, all together in the water, fluttering and making all kinds of noise. We checked out a whole bunch of different streams. We did a hike to the top of a lookout on Florence Lake. We stopped by Tabletop Island and then finished up by doing a little portage past an ancient cabin. So all in all, it was a pretty exciting day with lots of views and lots of, unique things to see. So while it's nice to be back, it's also a little sad because tomorrow we're going to be heading off of Florence and heading back from where we came. But before that happens, I'm going to finish this coffee, get myself some dinner, and settle around the campfire and just take it easy with the guys tonight.
The light's really looking good on the canoe too, eh? Yeah.
Well, I'm going to miss the sight, but I'm not going to miss the sand, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
It's been fun, but I've got a little sandbox going inside my tent despite best efforts.
Yep.
For the past couple hours, we've just been chilling out around the campfire, chatting about the day and recounting all the different things that we saw, and also recounting the fact that, some days start in pouring rain and never really get sunny, but still those days can be some of the best days you have out on the lake. Calm waters, interesting sights, and just lots of great conversation and chit-chat along the way. But we also talked about what tomorrow's going to look like for us, and that is heading back north on Florence and retracing many of the steps that we took to get to where we are now. In fact, we'll be paddling all the way back along the South Lady Evelyn River to the portage that we took to get into it. But rather than taking the portage out of it, we're going to continue east on the South Lady Evelyn and continue through its winding, twisting creek section until we reach the North Lady Evelyn River, where we intend to camp for tomorrow night. So it's going to be a long day, and we're going to hit the hay early. So thanks so much for joining us on day 4, and we hope to see you on day 5. It's about 5 a.m. here. Been up for maybe 20 minutes or so, and I think I hear Dustin stirring, and Curtis is probably getting up now as well, because yesterday we talked about getting an early start to head out on the water. And overnight, wind, oh my goodness. It's probably at its weakest point at the moment of what it looked like all night, and it is supposed to diminish throughout the day, but I was a little bit worried last night when I heard the wind tearing through the trees, because that's the exact direction we're paddling in today. Anyhow, I finished coffee number 1, and coffee number 2 is not far off. Yeah, I think I see Curtis up. So we'll get together over coffees and strategize for the morning. But the plan is clear. Get up, get out, head north on Florence, and back down the South Lady Evelyn. It's 8:30 a.m. and we've just pushed off from our beach campsite, saying goodbye to our home for the past 3 nights, and now we're heading north on a windy Florence lake. Destination, South Lady Evelyn River. Just working our way through a weedy mudflat area, the same area that we passed on the way in here, and it's work. Maybe 500 meters or so of this barely passable mud bog. But once you get past it, it will open up again. Oh, finally a bit of water to put my paddle in. Once we get past this, we'll be into open water and scenic paddling until we reach the moving water right before the portage into Dees. Although we'll be skipping that portage and continuing along this river. One of the great things about paddling a there and back trip is that you get to see what the landscape looks like from the perspective of the way back. Because on the way out there, you don't see everything. And case in point are these incredible bluffs behind me. Now, I did happen to catch a glimpse of them on the way out, but that's only because I happened to look behind me. If I hadn't looked, I wouldn't have even known they were there. So on the return trip, I've been waiting for a chance to see those bluffs, and the river twists and turns, and you don't know exactly when they're going to appear. But I came around the corner, and on the right shore, Dustin's cleaning a fish, and downstream, I see Curtis, this little tiny dot with an orange hat on, paddling at the base of these incredible bluffs, mountains, whatever. And you just get an idea of the scale of the environment that you're in when you see a tiny little canoeist, and then you just see this rock wall behind them. It just takes your breath away. Beautiful to be out here. Absolutely beautiful landscape. Approaching Dees Rapids now, and I think we've all decided that we're going to run a portion of them anyway. These are the same rapids that we walked up on day one, except today's a much colder day, and it would have been nice to avoid wet feet, but since they're already wet, might as well run what we can and then hop out and pull the boats past any obstructions that we find. All right, things are getting tight now. This is the winding, twisting kind of corridor before the first Swift. Curtis has already gone ahead, and just around this next S-turn, I believe it begins. Unfortunately, we bottomed out at the end here, so we're gonna have to pull the boat through the last rapid. Well, that was a lot of fun. The only real challenge was water depth. You had about that much water to spare, and in a lot of cases there were some rocks that actually came over the surface. So yeah, it was a bump and a grind, and I think I left some white paint on some rocks, as I often do. And then at the very end, it was just impassable. The rocks were just above the water line. But once you got over them, there was one little tiny swift at the end, and what a ton of fun. So I can imagine in higher water, it's actually quite the run. But for us, well, it is what it is. Anyway, I see Curtis coming down now, and Dustin just behind him. So we all made it.
For sure. I like this view.
Oh, the water's warmer than the air.
Yeah, yeah.
We're on 130 now, and we have just passed the Dease Lake Portage. And that's significant because that's the portage that we took in order to come into the South Lady Evelyn River on day one, which means everything we see from now on is new to me. And the moment I came around the corner from the Dease Lake Portage, we were presented with this, which is just another stunning view that you didn't know existed until you rounded a corner ahead of you. Anyway, we've got about 3 or 4 hours of this type of paddling until we reach our campsite on the North Lady Evelyn River. Continuing to make our way along the South Lady Evelyn beyond Dease Portage. The river's become quite wide, maybe 200-300 feet wide, with wetlands at the edge and then forest further back. There's been lots of interesting things to see along the river. A couple mergansers and all kinds of trees hanging precipitously right over the paddleway. And of course all kinds of stumps and interesting shaped things on shore. And we've got about another 10 or 12 kilometers of this. So if these conditions hold up and the rain holds off and the wind stays where it is and the beavers don't build too many dams between here and where I have to go, it'll be a perfect day. We're about halfway to our destination along the South Lady Evelyn, and I'm hungry. My legs are sore, so we're going to take a pit stop at this campsite and stretch our legs, get a bite to eat. Then we'll hop back in the boats and continue with our paddle. This is an interesting campsite. It's located on an old logging road, and there used to be a bridge across the river. You can see the pilings for it. It's been torn out now, but it'll be fun to paddle through under where the bridge used to be. And the campsite's been a great spot for lunch. It has a little table and lots of flat spots if you felt like camping. But we're not going to camp. We're going to keep on going and hopefully get to our campsite before these skies decide to become any more inclement.
On your way?
Nope. Just me. We are back on the river, having taken a break for our lunch, and it was nice to get out and stretch the legs, have some tuna, have some crackers, have some red licorice. But now we're back on the water, and we're paddling through what will be a much twistier, tighter, and more intimate section of the river than we've paddled so far. We've got a headwind. The headwind's come back, but at least we had sun for 30 seconds. Sun for 30 seconds since day 2. That's all we've had. But hopefully it'll poke out a little bit later and warm us up a little bit, because as soon as you stop paddling, it actually gets quite cold. Oh, feel that sun? The river has narrowed considerably, maybe as wide as a 2-lane driveway. And Curtis was leading the way, and he heard a moose just back from the river. And he signaled to us, and we caught up, and we waited and listened. Didn't hear a darn thing, but I mean, he sure did. So anyway, we're continuing to proceed down the river. We've got a long way to go, and we're going to try to keep it on the quiet side, so we can hopefully have a chance of seeing another one. Well, this paddle is getting more and more exciting. We just came around a corner probably 100 meters after seeing the moose. And right up on this little rocky bluff, maybe 20 feet off the water level, big black bear just cruising along. I think I got some shots. It was a little rickety, but I think I got some. And now we're going downstream very slowly, trying to see if he'll poke his head out again. I let Curtis go ahead by about 25 meters. I'm going to follow behind him. It's pretty exciting. So 2 moose, maybe the same moose, plus 1 black bear. Huh, not a bad day. We've got a little beaver dam in front of us, so we're going to drag over, I think, at river left. That beaver dam didn't give us any trouble at all. We just went over to one side of the river and lined our canoes up and just pulled them over and continued on our way. And the profile of the river continues as it did before, maybe a little swampier and a little bushier and a little narrower, but at least the sun is out. Things are warm. Even my wet feet aren't giving me any bother. So we guess in the next hour or hour and a half or so, we should be on the North Channel and hopefully at the available campsite there. Ah, yes.
Yeah, that one. There we go. Now it's good. Make them work a bit. Thanks, Curtis. Yeah.
Just ahead, we have a beaver dam with a very deep drop. So Curtis is in front, so he has the privilege of figuring out how we're gonna handle this. Oh yeah. That was Beaver Dam number 3 and the tallest of them all. But there was kind of a runway to get your canoe down, so it's not like we had to make one. And now we continue on the twisting river. 5 o'clock. Sun's getting lower in the sky. We'd like to get to our campsite soon, but at the same time we don't want to rush past all this incredible scenery.
Yeah, we're getting closer to the river.
We are floating in inches of water right now, literally inches of water. Curtis just got beached behind me because he was just slightly off center. It is a very shallow bottom here. Another swift ahead. Let's see if I can do it without bottoming. It's like there's just enough water. I'm going to call that a pass. We arrived at the junction where the South Lady Evelyn meets the North Lady Evelyn. And we turn left, west, and we're heading back up the North Lady Evelyn River. We've got about 2.5 kilometers to go until our campsite, which is going to be the same campsite we stayed at night 1. I believe it's one of the closest sites to the takeout, and we want to get an early getaway tomorrow. However, we're now paddling against the current, and when the river gets shallow, we find ourselves having to pole or get up and walk up the swifts that are flowing against us. But now the water's deeper and we're able to get some purchase with your paddle and sort of motor your way through it, but we're probably only traveling at half speed. Does it look empty? Nice. We're back at the same campsite we stayed at night 1, which is perfect because it's about 3 kilometers from the takeout and it's a known quantity. It's been a long day, so it's nice to see nobody here and nice to know that we can pull in and get squared away. Not a bad day, eh?
Oh, my arse.
Oh dear. Oh, I know, mine too.
It was a really
8:30 to 6 p.m. That's an honest day.
Yeah, that's a very honest day. Need to take some more stuff out, pull you up a bit.
Do you know what? Don't even worry about me. I'm just going to sit here and relax for a moment.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the first campsite we stayed at.
Yeah, beautiful one.
It'll do the trick.
I'll be your guide.
Right on. Well, you did a pretty good
Yeah,
job.
2 eggs, bacon, brown toast. How's that?
Why don't, if you're the guide, why don't you head back over there and plan another 3-day journey for
Yeah.
us? Why don't you?
Sure. I'll get dinner started. It's
Better.
funny how things work out, eh?
Inputs to charge it or inputs to...
It feels good to be set up at the campsite. When we got here, I was starting to get pretty cold. My feet wet all day. In the morning with the rain. The sun in the afternoon helped take some of the chill out, but by the time we got here and started walking into the campsite, the moment you stepped out of the sun, it was single digits. And tonight's supposed to get down to, I think, -3 or 4 or something very cold, which I actually welcome because the sky is clear for the first time in the past, I don't know, 4 days. Anyway, tonight's going to be chili mac with a side of miso soup. Get all warmed up, and long johns are going on tonight for bed for sure. It's going to be a chilly one, but I'm going to start with this hot meal and see what that does to get my spirits up. It's past 8 o'clock now, and well, we finished up dinner and got camp collapsed for the night. And the next steps for us are just building up the campfire so we can have a bit of a warming fire before we head off to bed, because it is going to be very cold tonight. It's a cloudless night, and I think the inReach said temperatures were going down to 3 or 4 degrees. So yeah, it's going to be a chilly one. But tomorrow it all ends. Tomorrow we make the 3-kilometer paddle back to the access and start making our way back to the city. But I did want to recap and say what an excellent trip this has been. The past 5 days have been an absolute joy spending it with these 2 guys. And the paddle into Florence Lake was just an absolute delight. And exploring in and around Florence Lake with all its bays and islands and sandy beaches and rocky lookouts and abandoned cabins. It's just a lake that has a lot going on, and I feel like we explored almost every corner of it. And then on the return trip, not only to see the original path that we took in reverse, but then to have a chance to paddle down a completely brand new section of river and see moose and bear and birds. It was just, I mean, honestly, I don't know what was missing from this trip. It really ticked all the boxes. Anyway, so Curtis, thank you to you for extending the invitation and making the suggestions for us to tackle this together. And Dustin, glad you were able to come along as well. So I'm going to wrap things up here, and I'm going to thank you very much for watching, and we hope to see you on the next one.